recording. And let the recording know that this is a special Board of Health meeting for April 24th, 2024. And so far, by way of a quorum, we have myself, Catherine Hilton, we have Noreen Pease, and we have Garrett Simonson. We have a number of guests. And I thought we would wait for a few minutes for Arlene to come in so we don't have to restart. Meanwhile, I will apologize to you guys for making you come back, because apparently what I did last week was put the applicant's address rather than the subject address in the agenda.
Oh.
So it's on account of me that you're missing a thrilling budget presentation from the Finance Committee. You can either be mad at me or thank me as you wish. Oh, I bet that's Arlene texting me.
Lauren, I don't think I've seen you since you were in high school.
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't go to high school here, so I don't know if I.
Well, I know, but I mean, you came up to the camp when you were in high school.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I'm from Central Mass. Maybe you're thinking.
Oh,
of...
I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking of Chad's sister. I guess I've got the wrong.
Yeah, I'm Chad's wife.
Oh yeah, sorry,
No.
Lauren. My bad.
No worries. It's a little confusing.
Not very clear.
Oh, here she is.
What's the sister's name? I've forgotten, Linda.
Chelsea.
Chelsea, that's right.
Daughter's name.
Yeah, Chad's sister.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, Arlene is now here. We have 4 members of the Board of Health, and our purpose this evening is to discuss a request from the Gribcos for a basically deferral of the Title V inspection for the property that they wish to buy, which is, Linda, what address? I don't trust myself.
Yeah, 36 South
36 South Laurel Drive. And when we talked about this, to the extent that we were able to talk about it last time, we were wondering how we could, I mean, it's pretty easy to meet the Gribco's requirements for their purchase and sale agreement, but we also have to meet the requirements of Title V. And I've been racking my brain about that. Garrett, fortunately, was able through his professional contacts to find us a model of language from another town. And I have taken that model and adapted it, and I'm going to put it up on my screen now for your consideration. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So, first question, Linda and Mike, are you going to be the only ones on the deed, or would there be somebody else on the deed with you?
We're the only ones on the deed.
Okay.
For the time being, yes.
Okay. All right. So what I propose, and I'm open to suggestions from anybody here, that we state that Mike and Linda understand that the septic system has not been inspected, and that they agree to forego the time of transfer inspection that is required under Title V. And our authority to do that is 310 CMR 153014B, which is not, it's a little bit shaky, but I think it's enough. So we state that this document is a binding agreement between the Gribcos and the Shutesbury Board of Health. And we are stipulating certain conditions that the Gridcos are being asked to agree to. That they will have the inspection performed within 6 months of the sale, which basically means sometime in 2024. That they'll send us, or their inspector will send us the inspection report along with the customary $50 filing fee. That if necessary, the septic system will be replaced within 2 years of the sale. Now, all of that is stuff you would be doing anyway, right? I mean, if the septic system is failed, it is expected to be replaced within 2 years. And of course, you know, the inspection reports are always forwarded with a fee to the Board of Health.
Mhm.
We would like to get an update at intervals of no greater than 3 months so that this doesn't get away from us. So say in the unlikely event that your closing actually takes place on May 1st, and I've never heard of a closing that actually took place on the right day, that 3 months later, it would be what, August 1st, and you would just send us an email and saying, this is what we've done.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, and I don't think we even have to say this, but we do have to say it, that the dwelling at that address would not be occupied until you can provide either a passing Title V inspection report, which nobody expects, or a certificate of compliance, which of course we would provide after when a new system was installed.
Mhm.
And I'm sneaking in one other thing here. I would like to have proof of on-site supply of potable water, which would basically mean you could get the existing well tested. And if you've got good water, then well and good. And if you choose to replace the well, then we would have the usual procedure in which we get the driller's log and the water quality test report. Just sort of boilerplate, right? If there is a property transfer before all these other action items are completed, they will devolve onto a new property owner. Any comments, suggestions, recommendations?
Two things, Catherine, can I ask?
Please do.
Okay, proof of an on-site supply of potable water. If the water is not potable, do we have a time period in which to get it to be so? Is that like this, the Title V septic, you get a couple of years or what?
That's a good question, Linda. I do not think that there is a specific, because there is no state law governing private wells.
Okay.
We just have our local well regs. So there is not, I think, a timeline for that. The timeline would basically be self-imposed because you're not to use the dwelling until you have good water.
Right. Okay.
So,
So that was number one. Number two, and I didn't realize this business about if a transfer occurs. This actually is being purchased by our LLC, Last Star Camp LLC. Mike and I are the whatever they're called, managers of the LLC. Should we change that name to Last Star Camp LLC? Because that, I think, is what's going to end up on the deed.
that would be good. We could have you and Mike as managers, if that's what you call it.
I think that's what, yeah.
Right. You'll give me the exact sort of name and address that you need for that.
Okay.
And you can put that in. That's a good point.
Okay. I think that's fine. Now here's another question. Because we aren't really sure if we're going to rebuild. We're buying essentially a lot with a dilapidated house that hasn't been lived in for 40 years. And we don't even, the electricity is still on, but we don't dare turn anything on because we're afraid we'll burn it down. there's probably mice in the wiring and mouse nests and everything else.
No doubt.
Yeah, so if we do think that it's going to be worth it to, we'd like to put a garage there anyway. We don't have a garage over at the house.
Mhm.
And we'd like to put a garage in, whether or not and we'll put storage above the garage, and whether or not at some point we actually turn that upstairs into living quarters. It's at that point that we really need, obviously, septic and well.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how fast this is going to proceed just because of the expense. But I think that once we get in, we haven't even been in the building. I mean, the whole lot is covered with trees. So, and the trees are 40 years old. So we have to go, once we own the property, we have to go to the Conservation Commission and find out how to go about, clearing part of the lot so we can even find the septic system. I think I know where it is, only based on what we were told back when we put our own septic system in. And that's 30 years ago. So they told us where that septic and well were. If they are actually there, then it makes life a little bit easier. But there's so many unknowns here. We're essentially buying a lot with a tear down. So I'm just hoping that we will keep you posted on everything we do.
Mhm.
And
Very good.
yeah, and I'm sure that we can figure out where the septic is and probably have it fail within 6 months.
Yeah, let me look into that, Linda. I know that we have the septic system permit, and it goes back to 1973. And there's a very small chance that there might be a sketch with it.
Okay,
The records from that time are not very good, but I'll check it and see if there's any information on there for you.
great, thank you.
So when you say a lot with a tear down, do you anticipate possibly tearing it down?
I'm sure that part of it, my guess is the roof leaks. There's probably some rot inside. I'm not sure we'll take everything down. I have no idea, Kat. We have to get in there.
Mhm. Okay.
Where part of our deal with buying this is that we're buying it with no inspections.
Yeah.
So
We're
Mhm.
prepared to tear it down, and it's likely that we probably will, but we've got to get into it and just see it.
Well, it has to be safe, right? So, I mean, regardless, it's gonna need a flip, if nothing else. So we're just trying to,
I'm sorry, would you say that again, Lauren?
yeah, I mean, it has to be safe, right? So, I mean, regardless, we'll for sure either flip it or rebuild it or something.
Flip is not the right word. We don't.
Renovate it? I
Yeah,
don't know.
renovate it. Yeah. We don't.
Sorry, I don't know.
We don't intend to buy or sell it.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay, and your LLC is a family company, so that if by some unfortunate incident you two both disappeared, it would still be owned by the same entity, that it wouldn't change hands.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're really protecting our waterfront property by getting the property that's right behind it. We just don't want somebody else behind us.
Mhm.
And we actually own, and you probably saw on the, we got roped into buying a landlocked lot that happens to border this one. So, by buying this, our lot is no longer landlocked, and it makes sense to add it to this lot so that it just makes the lot a little bit bigger. All those lots are smaller, so.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, and you may need that for your septic system or whatever, assuming that that's the way that you go.
Yep.
So, Board of Health, knowing that there may or may not be a septic system envisioned for this lot, is that going to change anything in the agreement that we are proposing?
I
I
think
tend, I tend to think not, that I think that what we have here is consistent with what the state environmental code says, and that this is very consistent language. And it's actually stronger language than is what is used in other communities, but the language is stronger in terms of the communication that's had between the Board of Health and this soon-to-be new property owner. So, I think that this is a very fair agreement.
Right.
And it's consistent with what's done in other jurisdictions.
So now, suppose we get, say, 3 months down the line and the Gribcos come back and say, we're going to tear this thing down. How is that going to affect this agreement? Trying to imagine all the future possibilities here.
So I don't know that, and I'd have to look at the state environmental code again, but I don't know that it addresses situations where a decision is made not to move forward with, inspection and upgrade of septic, or a situation like what Linda was describing, where the process takes much longer than 2 years. So I don't know if there's within the code, if there's renewal provisions, but that's something that we could look at. I would assume that it might be possible to extend the renewal if the time requirement needed it.
I think that we have a fair amount of latitude in that as the local approving authority, that we can extend that. I know that there are provisions for extending it if the system is pumped every year, but if the system has failed and not being used, that would be moot. I think I can envision a situation in which number one is met, they have the system inspected, and and I guess they do number two also, they submit the report, but then they decide not to go ahead with the rest of this and to tear down the house and either build a new one or not build a new one. In which case, it seems to me that we could then release them from this agreement, right?
Does a septic system that is no longer functioning and is not to be replaced because the building has been torn down, does that septic system need to be demolished the way that or destroyed the way that an old well would need to be?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but
Unless something else were slated to go into its place, in which case all of the sand and trenches and stuff would have to be removed.
right.
I may be wrong, but I thought we had an example on the other side of the lake some years ago where a septic system had to be filled in. Am I recalling?
It may, I don't remember it, Noreen, but it may be for the reason I just mentioned, that something
Right,
yeah.
needed to go there.
Right.
Just a quick thought. I had experience with filling in a septic tank here in Amherst, and they did that because we were putting a different septic tank in another location,
Mhm.
and they're concerned about the structural integrity of the soil over it. So you fill it with concrete, pump it out,
Right.
fill it with concrete. So maybe that was the case across the lake. If you remember, if there was another one going in, I don't know.
Yeah.
Possibly. Noreen, I don't know if you're thinking about the wasn't a septic tank, it was actually a privy at what's now Elliott Park.
No.
We
I
had
think
filled
it
in
was
with
no,
cement.
I do think it was cottage on the other side, but
Okay, I can't,
think it was on
Can't remember
Lake
that.
Drive, but anyway, I can't either, but
right.
I have one other question. Do we need to add some sort of language that would specify that the Grepcos come back to us and let us know what their plans are within some reasonable amount of time?
Well,
Is that-
number 4, the Board of Health shall receive updates on the progress of inspection and repair at intervals no greater than 3 months, beginning with the date of sale.
Okay, sorry. Yep, that's good.
And just one, can I just make one
Please do.
comment? If the septic system is where we think it is,
Mhm.
it's in the front yard between the house and the existing house and the road. And I'm pretty certain that if we don't use it, we would definitely fill it in. It should, just for the integrity of the soil, as Chad was saying, it's in a spot where we wouldn't want to risk anybody, parking a truck on top of it and having it sink in. So if it's there, then we'd fill it in anyway.
Right, yeah, there's kind of two parts to it, obviously. There's filling in the tank so that it will be solid and not collapse under whatever you have above it. And then there is also sort of removing old, basically contaminated soil from the trenches. And unless you were going to put something where those trenches are, you wouldn't have to do that part. But I think you would be wise to fill it in with cement.
Just,
We agree.
I don't know if you remember, Kat, but when we bought 35 South Laurel, we had the same situation. We had a burned out shell. We had a septic underneath part of the building and a well 30 feet away, 40 feet away. So we were faced pretty much with the same thing. And that was just before the new Title V passed. So the town couldn't give us the variances that we needed. So we actually had to rebuild the house over the old septic tank, which obviously we filled in. But I'll tell you, it grows the best rhubarb you can imagine.
Linda, I'm sure you wouldn't remember this, but what I remember about that is that when you came to talk to the Board of Health about this, and it went on for hours.
Yeah.
That was like the very first meeting I had ever been to, the Board of Health meeting. And I wasn't a Board of Health member yet. I was just a volunteer taking the minutes. And boy, was that a challenge.
Well,
Hopefully this won't be so challenging. It should be pretty
Right.
straight.
we ended up with a wonderful end result, so.
Excellent. So, Board of Health, where are we on this agreement? Oh, we have a question from Tom Seifert. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, thanks. Is now an okay time to do that?
Yes.
Thanks. Could you please clarify what happens just in case? Just looking at, the extremes of the situation, what would happen if there wasn't any fulfillment of the terms here within 2 years? That wasn't clear to me, please.
Oh, I see. What makes this agreement binding?
Well,
Well,
what would be the consequence if, it wasn't able to be fulfilled? Yeah.
if it wasn't able to be fulfilled, that would be something that we would have to
Or just not
renegotiate.
fulfilled.
If it was not
able to-
fulfilled due to the negligence of the owners, we could take them to court.
Okay, I thought I heard you talking about a renewal, and that was confusing to me.
Well,
We
so
can-
the
we
point that I
can-
was raising about renewal is that I'm not sure if the code allows for it, but so if they decided to not proceed with, if the septic system fails and they decided to not proceed with installing another septic system, then the agreement's sort of moot at that point.
Right,
Right.
right, we
How
would
are
not
you,
extend
where
it.
will you look to confirm that? You said you're not sure if the code says it. What code and how are you going to confirm that, please?
So the code that's listed here in the top paragraph is the code that we would utilize to engage the agreement.
Okay, I hadn't seen
yeah.
anything about renewals in there. I wasn't sure if you had already scanned it, but I
No,
can read it again.
I haven't, but so I
Okay.
don't know that is necessary, but so we did build in this additional reporting requirement that they're going to need to come to us on a fairly frequent basis to give us updates. on, you know, what the status of the work is thus far.
Okay, so it sounds like there's an unknown about the renewal. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if a renewal of this is allowed.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify it. It wasn't clear if it was allowed or just not known. That's all. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having this meeting.
So, Board of Health, are we ready to talk about actually entering into this agreement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, are there comments, suggestions, motions?
I will move that the Board of Health engage this agreement as written.
With a change of name.
Right, good point.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Right.
friendly amendment.
A second.
Discussion. Hearing none, I propose that we vote on this motion. Noreen,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Arlene,
Yes.
Catherine, yes. Okay, I would like your permission to modify the agreement in such a way as to reflect the proper ownership of the proper future ownership of the parcel, and to fill in the stuff at the end in which they sign it and I can sign it for the Board of Health, and we'll have it notarized. Is that a suitable way of proceeding?
I think so.
Yes.
Now, one other question that occurs to me is, do we need to have this this agreement recorded at the Registry of Deeds, which would necessitate then sometime in the future a second notice to be recorded saying that all the conditions had been met, or that because of a change of use of the property, the agreement was no longer in force? Do we feel that that would be necessary? This is a real question. I don't know if it is or not. I don't personally feel that it would be important.
Kat, remind me, there have been some circumstances where we have required notification on the deed, and I can't remember what those are in other instances.
The deed restrictions that we usually, the most common ones that we see have to do with number of bedrooms.
Oh,
So
right, okay.
People will come with a building permit, that application that is causing an extra number of bedrooms. And we require them to put on the deed, attached to the deed, the notification that the septic system only covers a certain number of them.
Right, thank you, I recall now.
I don't think we need to do that in this case, because if there were to be a transfer of title, then Title V would apply to the new transfer, and there would need to be an inspection. And so I don't think that we need to require that this be part of filed with the Registry of Deeds.
Okay, Linda, did you have a question?
The only point I was going to make is number one, the same one Arlene just made, that a change of ownership would require another Title V anyway. But one other thing that the board probably realizes is that back when we got the Title V permission for the house that we now own, they asked us to send in a water test every year. And I think you probably have 30 water tests, Kat.
Yes, you have been very conscientious about that, Linda. Thank you. All right. So I think that our work here is done. I will clean up this agreement so that it meets all the requirements of nomenclature and form at the end. And Linda, I'll get in touch with you. So you and Mike, you guys are the ones who sign things for the LLC, right?
That's correct.
Okay, send me, if you would, email to me the name and address of the LLC so that I can put it in.
Okay.
And I think that the simplest and cleanest way of doing this would be, once we have it ready for you guys, we'll make an appointment for me and you guys and the town clerk, and we can get this notarized. And then it will be executed and you'll be good to go.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you are very welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see ya.
Good to see you.
We'll be up there soon. We'll see you riding your bike, Noreen.
Yay.
Okay, you want us to leave? We'll leave.
You can
Thank
leave
you
or
as well
stay,
from the neighbors.
leave or stay as you choose.
Okay, thanks.
Noreen, I just got something from you, since we're here, I just got something from you about the collaborative. Do you want to tell us what that was
Well,
about?
we had a collaborative meeting last week, and I can summarize. I've got about 6 points that I think might be of interest to the board, and I can send them to you, Kat, if you want, in bullet form. That'll probably be helpful to you.
Okay,
Do you want a quick report, or?
yes, would you
if-
report? That'd be good.
Yeah, okay. So the coalition voted last week to send a statement to MAFCO regarding the fact that the current existing 5 EDSs in our collaborative now want to act as one group. And I think we've had discussion about that, that Garrett has presented, and Garrett was part of a group that put that statement together. So that will be forwarded to MAPCO, and I assume they'll be taking that statement up, Garrett, or it'll be read into the record at MAPCO, or I don't know what the next steps are for that.
Yeah, I would imagine so. We've got a steering committee meeting coming up shortly, so we'll at least consider it there first, and then I guess bring it to the broader coalition.
Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know that the collaborative has taken a vote to do that. The second item is we're about to hire a new inspector, and this inspector will be available to take the place of any inspectors if they are ill, or if they're on vacation, or that sort of thing. So they had a person who was interested, who had several certifications that are required, and the new health director in Greenfield, who is Michael Thoreau, was willing to work with this person to get all the additional inspector certifications that are necessary up to date. So that person should be beginning, if she accepts the position, sometime this summer.
So Noreen, what are the nature of the inspections that she would be doing? Would she do the food inspections, the housing inspections, what?
Yeah, pool, food, that's right. She'll be getting Title V eventually, so she could provide any kind of backup
Mhm.
to any of the inspectors in the towns, should they become ill or while they're on vacation or that type of thing. It'll just be additional backup coverage available to the entire group.
Very good.
Claudia remains primary for us.
Absolutely.
This
Yeah,
person
yeah,
will be backup. Okay, great.
that's right. That's right. And I think this person will be, I'm sure Greenfield needs backup a good bit of the time. So I'm sure this person will be busy.
Noreen,
Um,
I can't remember, has there been conversation about how that works for, in a situation like this where we contract with Claudia through a different shared service arrangement and this person's providing backup support through a different shared services?
Mm,
I
I wonder how they
not
address that.
Well, I know we have an agreement signed by the select board and us that's enabled us to share staffing, so I don't really see what the issue might be, Garrett. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah,
Presumably, we would just be able to ask for services if we
if
needed
if
them.
needed,
I,
yeah.
I think so. I think that's the idea, that if we knew Claudia was, not going to be available for a certain amount of time, we can just let the collaborative know and that they can help us out.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question, Garrett? Or, I mean, I suppose we can bring it up with them again.
It's not probably not necessary. I was just thinking about, like issues with backfill and things like that if there's contract issues, but
Hmm.
there may not be.
I don't think so, because we have this agreement signed already that covers anyone like Sarah who's working for the entire collaborative and all of the towns individually. I think that's why we signed that agreement.
Yep.
So. All right, the next item is that Sarah has requested more hours over the summer. Apparently she has more availability. I'm not sure why or anything, but I think that's good for everyone. So I don't know exactly how many hours, but I'm certain that she will be granted additional hours. So she may be spending more time with us this summer. The next thing is our funding is going to be level funded. The funding for the collaborative will be level funded for the next 2 years. I asked, the budget managers, and they seem to think that would be adequate, that we, the funding levels have been getting us up and running for this first year, and we've done our best to try and spend as much of the funding as we can and get staff on board. So they seem to think $400,000 will be adequate for the next couple of years.
Mhm.
The other thing is there are some more COVID tests available with an expiration date of November. Do we want more COVID tests?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I will get back to Megan and let her know.
Please.
Do you know how many you might want, Kat, or we might want?
I can't even guess what the availability is. If we had one of those cartons, it would go for a while.
Okay,
If we had more than one carton, that'd be great, but I would think that we wouldn't want less than a carton. Those cartons have 90 pieces.
okay.
If we can have two
Maybe
cartons.
one or
much
two
better.
cartons. Okay, I'll ask her how many are available.
And
Uh,
yeah, and if there's a need for them to be picked up,
Okay.
I'll go and do it.
Just making notes, you guys.
Mhm.
The final thing is that we're expecting mosquito season to be a bad one this year because of all the dampness and all of the breeding of mosquitoes. And there are apparently some bug wipes available that Sarah has. I asked if they were as good as other DEET products, and apparently they are. So I think there was going to be some suggestion that the nurses work to let people, educate people in towns about mosquito season, and that these wipes can be a handout to people. There aren't a lot of them, but they will, remind people that they need to be conscious about wearing some sort of bug repellent when they go out of doors this year.
On that topic, do we have any sort of advance forecast about Triple E? Are we expecting to see cases this year, or anybody know?
I would just guess if they're thinking the mosquito, that this is from Carolyn, who of course is on the mosquito
Control.
coalition,
Mhm.
that they're expecting it to be a very bad year. They're expecting there to be a lot of breeding. So I think if there's a lot of breeding, it's probably going to be more of the, and I forget, there's a certain percentage of the mosquitoes that are Tripoli carrying. It's a fairly low percent, but there'll be a higher percentage of that lower percent. Would be my guess.
Yeah, John, is that his name? Who's our mosquito guy?
Yeah, I'm
He told
forgetting
me
the
last
guy.
year that he fears that Tripoli is going to spread to other vectors, other kinds of mosquitoes,
Hmm.
which could be pretty bad. Now, last year, you probably remember that I did not apply for opting out of mandatory spraying. Partly because mandatory spraying seemed like a pretty remote possibility, but mainly because we can opt out, but we can't opt out of state land. And almost everything we have here is state land. It seems a little bit pointless to go to all that trouble when it would affect not our whole landmass. So I wonder what you think about that for this year. It's fairly big work, and actually it may already be too late. I haven't heard anything about it from the state.
I think it's a lot of work, and then the state routinely says, too bad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
turn down your
Like,
request.
Right.
your request is denied, so.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, they turned down all the requests based solely on the risk level. So yeah, it doesn't seem like a good use of our time to do that.
All right, just one other sort of FYI, if anyone sees or talks to Claudia, there's the iPads that all the inspectors are supposed to be using who are in the collaborative are still being set up with Relevant software.
Mhm.
Relevant is the name of the company. So we
Right.
should give her a heads up that that iPad is probably going to be available soon, you know.
Okay, I'll let her know.
Yeah, and that we'll probably need to pick that up, and there should be training available to show her how to use it. And Ryan Bascom in Montague has put this software already on his iPad and has been using it. So he's a good contact person to, you know, if you need some help with what it's working with. Like he said, it has food codes on it. It has housing codes, and some he thought worked better than others. So he's a good person to contact to get information on how that works and maybe some of its glitches and that sort of
Okay,
thing.
if you can send me his contact information, I'll
Yeah.
pass it on to Claudia and also tell her
Okay.
to alert for a notification that that's forthcoming.
Okay. Okay, so I'll send you some notes on all of this tomorrow, Kat.
Cool.
All right, that's all I have. It was a long meeting.
Yeah, longer than I imagined. So Arlene, where are you?
We are in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and heading into Carlsbad Cavern tomorrow. And that behind me is a gigantic black and white photo in the hotel room of Carlsbad Cavern.
Wow.
Right, yeah, if you angle it that way, it looks like you're really there.
Yeah, I know.
We're
Very cool.
3,000 feet underground.
Oh no. It's the guy who's bored help.
Right.
How's the weather?
It's high 80s and very strong sun, and
You'll be
it's
glad to be in that cavern.
what's
Yes.
that?
You'll be glad to be in that cavern.
Yeah, exactly.
cool.
Where it's a constant high 50s, I guess.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Wine
So-
cellar.
We're hoping to see tomorrow the flight of the Brazilian bats that spend their summer in the cavern, and at sundown, they exit the cavern mouth by the millions.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So we're hoping to see that, but it may be a little early. They may not all have arrived for their summer home. Yeah,
Oh,
but
so maybe they'll only come out in their thousands.
in the hundreds of thousands.
Right, right.
Are they healthy?
That would be
already?
enough.
Do you know, or do they know? Are they healthy? The
Um,
bats?
I am not certain. We stopped briefly at the visitor center, and there was an information board about the white, the fungus that has decimated white nose, right? And but I don't know how affected this population is.
Hmm.
We might learn that tomorrow. So
Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have anything to report?
Are we still meeting next week, Kat?
Is it next week already?
Yes.
it
Wow.
it
It's a
would be
special-
May. I don't have my calendar up, but I think that's May 1st, if I'm not mistaken. 28th is Sunday. Yeah, so May 1st is Wednesday.
Huh, okay. Yeah, so it is. You know what? I'll go ahead and post a meeting, and if we don't have anything to do, we just can cancel it.
Okay,
Okay, but this way we'll be covered in case.
right. I'll be in Denver by then, so I'll have internet access.
Mhm,
Sure.
okay. And presumably Wim will be back from wherever he's disappeared to.
Right.
All right, if we don't have anything else to do,
I will move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Yes.
Duh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys for coming in at extra time. I really appreciate it.
All right, good night.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.